Stunning news this week at the State House as lawmakers learned the new revenue forecast was projecting a steep decline in revenue, leaving lawmakers with about $2 billion less to work with as they put the finishing touches on the new state budget here in the final days of the session. All this as the governor signs his new plan on property taxes, leaving local communities wondering about their budgets. Hannah Adamson starts our coverage from the State House.
With $2.4 billion fewer dollars to work with, lawmakers on both sides of the aisle tell me just about everything is on the table in terms of cuts and new revenue streams.
We're going to have to make some tough decisions over the next week, and people, need to be prepared for it.
As lawmakers prepare to debate the budget bill in conference committee, Republican leadership says they will need to reevaluate much of the current budget proposal.
We'd already started talking about options of cutting, but it's just going to be a lot bigger than what we expected.
They're working through the line items. I think the thing that we want to protect and hold to the longest is trying to protect K-12.
But some economists aren't convinced K-12 spending is safe from the chopping block.
Everything is going to be impacted by this. Ultimately, even I think schools are eventually going to feel some difficulty with this.
Economist Michael Hicks says with 5% of the budget going away, he anticipates cuts to public safety, road maintenance, and Medicaid are highly likely.
What the legislature heard yesterday should be viewed as the very most optimistic case over the next 2 years, which should be very alarming.
To boost revenue, lawmakers say they're looking into increasing the state cigarette tax.
I voted for it. I stand in support of it.
Raising it by $2 a year as an option will raise close to $800 million.
Lawmakers say another possible option is pausing planned cuts to the state's individual income tax rate.
I think everything's on the table, and I mean that's one of those things that we'll have to talk about.
That would generate close to $270 million just by pushing out 2 years.
However, there is one hot-button issue Speaker Houston says he will not consider to remedy the shortfall.
I think we're not going to legalize marijuana in the budget.
Now, leaders on both sides of the aisle tell me they are confident they will find a solution by the end of this legislative session. By law, they'll have until the 29th of this month to do so. Reporting from the Indiana State House, I'm Hannah Adamson.
Hannah, thanks. You heard from the House Speaker there. Here's what the governor had to say in a statement. He said we must finalize a biennial budget that respects the revenue forecast and protects taxpayers from a worst-case scenario. Governor Braun says he'll work with the General Assembly to craft a budget that's structurally balanced, maintains strong reserves, and funds vital services like public safety and education. Meantime, this week, the governor signed a property tax bill into law after a late-night debate at the State House. But not everyone's happy on both sides with where the bill ended up.
What does tax relief mean? We're talking about our voters, the people who have been demanding tax relief. And we are giving it to them very creatively. This is a very complicated system.
Just like a whack-a-mole. You hit it from one side, the problem pops on the other side, and now we have to come back next session and try to fix it.
Today, our Russ McQuaid takes a closer look at the local impact.
The Senate Republican author of the bill said perhaps local governments need to take a cue from DOGE in Washington, the way it's cutting the federal budget. As the former mayor of Fort Wayne, Paul Hemke, says locals just don't have that much extra space in their budgets.
For people who own their homes, SB 1 could be worth a maximum $300 property tax credit. Supporters claim that's 2/3 of all Hoosier homeowners. Farmers and business owners will benefit too.
It's not clear from this bill who all the winners and who all the losers are going to be. They're shoving the tax burden down to the local levels. Since they're capping the local governments on property taxes, they're going to be forcing local governments to raise the income tax.
Local governments and school districts dependent on property tax revenues to make their budgets will be left scrambling to replace that now missing money to pay for fixing streets, employing police officers, and putting out fires.
Well, it could be a double whammy where the revenue source and the revenue stream is narrowed a bit, and yet the costs are not.
Marion County currently has a 1.7% local income tax, and SB 1 gives municipalities room to hike that tax to 2.9% to cover the property tax revenue reduction.
I think that all the options have to be left on the table for discussion, but I think Russ, you know how I feel about raising taxes. I would be very reluctant to to add that to that burden, particularly as it relates to local option income.
Renters, for instance, most likely won't see a reduction in their monthly housing costs, though their income taxes could climb.
Local cities and counties, however, now have an option under this bill to raise the local income tax. So they might be able to make the money back, and people might actually end up paying more.
Public schools rely on property tax revenues to educate Hoosier children.
Public school districts are the definite losers here. Local school districts, they're going to lose property tax dollars.
That was Russ McQuaid there with the former Fort Wayne mayor and current Indianapolis mayor Joe Hogsett, who Russ spoke with on Tuesday. Now here's more of that one-on-one interview with Indy's mayor.
You mentioned perhaps the most important single expenditure to the city of Indianapolis, and that's public safety, police, fire, EMS. So we are analyzing it. I actually think that I hold out hope that it won't be as bad as was originally predicted, but until the experts give me a review, I'm being a little bit pessimistic rather than optimistic.
The governor, in a sense, already said who the winners are going to be, property tax owners. Are we thinking enough about who the losers are going to be?
Well, I hope that a comprehensive review would be done once we have a good understanding of all of the elements that may or may not have been added last night. But you're absolutely right. Everybody is declaring victory for those who perhaps will enjoy some relief. But I would be irresponsible if I did not always at the forefront of my mind keep who's going to be adversely impacted. From a very provincial standpoint, I'm worried about the city of Indianapolis generally right now, and we'll be interested to see how those numbers shake out.
Meanwhile, hundreds of teachers rallied at the State House Monday, hours before the bill was passed. It was all part of the State Teachers Association's Day of Action. At least 500 teachers, students, and activists called on lawmakers to stop Senate Bill 1. They say public schools could lose $750 million they otherwise would have received over the next 3 years, with public and charter schools having to share remaining property tax dollars in some circumstances.
Well, my school corporation is public, so if their funding gets affected, we'll have to find resources elsewhere or do the same with fewer resources, and that's not going to help any student that I know.
Well, it wasn't just educators or local leaders who opposed this bill throughout the process. Some of the loudest advocates for property tax relief thought the final bill didn't go far enough, including the lieutenant governor, who issued this statement last weekend saying, "Nobody understands this thing, including me. On that basis alone, we can't let this become law." He said the governor needs to veto this thing, call a special session, and demand the legislature pass something the average Hoosier can understand. We tried to talk with the lieutenant governor about the bill after the governor signed it into law this week.
We're not going to do any comments on SB 1. But if you want to talk about this, I'd be happy to talk about this.
Is there a statement forthcoming about it? Or?
Yeah, we're working with the governor's team to put out. To put out a statement.
That was the lieutenant governor appearing at another big event that the governor held this past week with Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Dr. Mehmet Oz, who's now the CMS director. It was all part of the governor's Make Indiana Healthy Again initiative, which this week included a series of new executive orders. Our Hannah Adamson was there, and today she has a recap.
Governor Braun's Make Indiana Healthy Again plan contains 9 parts, including more preventative measures being put into place and changes to Medicaid work requirements and SNAP benefits. Tuesday, CMS Administrator Dr. Mehmet Oz and Health Secretary RFK Jr. joined Governor Braun as he announced Indiana's plan to join the Make America Healthy Again, or MAHA, movement.
I am so excited about being a partner.
I also want to take this moment to encourage governors all over the country to follow the lead of Indiana.
Braun's plan includes cracking down on Medicaid eligibility, requiring more SNAP recipients to work, and removing soda and candy from SNAP benefits.
These executive orders make it easy for moms to do the right thing for their kids.
If we want to protect our country against infectious diseases, We need to start by making people healthy again.
One health coach we spoke to says she's been pushing for similar reforms for years.
I see hope for the first time in a very long time.
The announcement was also met with dozens of protesters, condemning Secretary Kennedy's recent remarks on vaccines and cuts to federal public health agencies.
We cannot afford Medicaid cuts.
What makes Indiana healthy would be vaccines, not misinformation.
What makes Indiana healthy are actual doctors and actual nurses, not a lawyer from Washington.
State Representative Maureen Bauer of South Bend says changes in SNAP benefits due to this plan could make things worse for Hoosiers in food deserts.
If the belief is that people are spending their money on sugary foods and drinks, then we need to expand access to farmers markets, grocery stores, fruits and vegetables.
Braun's plan also creates a governor's fitness test for kids and commissions a study on the effects of food dyes and additives.
We're not saying it's one thing or the other. We're saying we got to know why. And I think it's dangerous not to ask that question.
The IDOH will have until July 2026 to submit its report on food dyes and additives to the governor's desk. Reporting from the Indiana State House, I'm Hannah Adamson.
Hannah, thanks again. In a statement this past week, Indiana Congressman Andre Carson said the announcement claims to address health issues in Indiana, but he says it restricts access to two of the most impactful programs on Hoosiers' health, SNAP and Medicaid. He said, I welcome any efforts to improve nutrition and healthy eating, but he said further restricting access to Medicaid and SNAP is the wrong way to go. Meantime, RFK's visit came amidst this growing measles outbreak that's now made its way here to Indiana. This week, Hannah asked Kennedy about some of his previous comments on vaccines that don't align with the views of the medical community, and specifically about the measles vaccine.
I mean, first of all, I would say that CDC in this case has done a very good job at controlling the measles outbreak. We've had about under 700 cases nationally, and in Europe they've had 127,000 cases, 37 deaths. People get measles because they don't vaccinate. They get measles because the vaccine wanes.
Kennedy also facing some scrutiny this week for some of his recent comments on autism. Coming up next on this week's edition of In Focus, we'll talk with two former state lawmakers on our panel about the really daunting task in front of the General Assembly here in the final weeks of session, with lawmakers now facing that $2.4 billion revenue shortfall. Then later, what transportation officials are saying about the trucks of the future as they hit the highway here in Indiana. Stick around, we'll be right back.